We're in judiciary, so we'll start early. Good afternoon, happy Pi Day. I'm State Senator Michael Connelly from the 21st District. With me is, of course, State Senator Jill Tracy. Here in the Capitol, it's March 14th, and we really have two choices. We either start working together on things we agree on, things that are important to all of the people that we represent, or we spend the next few months pointing fingers at each other, waiting until the end of session. I mean, Senator Tracy and I have been here long enough to know that at the end of May, things come to a crescendo, and either something happens or we again begin the process of pointing fingers. So today we thought we would start, we filed two bills, Senate Bill 2172 and 2173, two bills that address our pension concerns here in Illinois. It will allow us to ease burdens on our taxpayers while freeing up precious resources for human services and education. There's nothing in these bills that is new. Senate Bill 2172 is the consideration plan that has been promoted and sponsored by President Cullerton. I am one of the few Republicans in this building who voted yes to Senate Bill 2404, which was the original offer and consideration pension bill. And the second bill, for the first time, provides a Tier 3 plan, defined contribution plan, as well as a smoothing of our pension payments over time, and includes a buyout plan, which is the sponsorship of State Representative Mark Batnick from the Plainfield area. It's time to get things done. It's time to find those areas where we agree, and it's time to move forward on important issues where we agree. And with that, Senator Tracy and I are in the middle of Judiciary Committee, so we will gladly take any questions.
So why do this now? I mean, there was a pension bill that's been out.
Right. This separates it out. I think, we want to move as much forward as we can that's been agreed on. I think that separating them out makes sense because time is of the essence. I mean, we feel the urgency to get these bills moving forward. If the first bill, the consideration bill, were tied up in the courts, we would like to see the other bills come to fruition sooner. So we're just trying to move along, recognizing that every day we wait, things get much more dire in the state. And so it's our thought that we'd start this process and try to move something forward this week. Last week, nothing moved forward. And as I said...
So basically the Republicans are not going to support the bill that Cullerton introduced?
Well, this is very similar. This is the consideration.
Why not support that?
I actually did. And as Mike said, he supported it as well previously.
But not in its current iteration?
The prior pension bill, it was part of the, quote, grand bargain bill. And I guess to answer the question, why now? We can't sit around and wait for a compilation of 15 or 16 bills to, I don't want to sound facetious, but magically appear. Instead, we're trying to find those areas. This was agreed to, as a matter of fact, last summer, in June of 2016. So in large measure, we're taking what was agreed to back then, bringing it forward and saying, this is where the Republicans and Democrats agreed. Let's move this forward now. There are other issues, property tax freeze, the school funding formula, a number of very complicated bills and issues that are continuing to be debated in this building. But in the interim, for purposes of protecting taxpayers long-term with structural pension changes, as well as providing Chicago a one-time $250 million for their pension system, this is what was agreed to in June, and it's something we think should be moved expeditiously.
How did you guys vote? This is the same bill that was part of the grand bargain, pretty much? Is that right?
It's the consideration bill. It is. I voted for the original consideration bill a couple of years ago, 2404. I was one of, I think, 3 Republican senators who voted for it. The prior bill 2 weeks ago was part of a continuum of grand bargain bills, which frankly, I represent Western DuPage County, and there was not the structural changes to spending and structural changes to the government reform issues that my constituency demands going forward. That's why I voted no.
No.
I voted no. Mhm.
Senator, same question to you?
It's been voted on twice that I've been
Yeah.
here. And so I voted no the first time, thinking that we should do it all as a package. I voted for it the second time, thinking it was time to move it forward, as Senator Connelly mentioned, finding the common ground that we have. And then as we saw it kind of fell apart, we just want to show good faith that we, as Republicans, want to move this process forward, that we're willing to meet some of things that we may not have supported in the past, but we are trying to find common ground. And as I said, it's a bill, or several bills, and we're just hoping to continue on one baby step at a time, but to get us to that final phase where we reach a fair and balanced budget.
And as many of you know, pensions contribute are about 22 to 23% of our overall budget. When I voted for the consideration bill 2 years ago, I made it clear that I wanted a bill to get to the Supreme Court. Well, Senate Bill 1 actually got there, and we all know how that turned out. So this bill is trying to navigate what the roadmap the Supreme Court may or may not have given us going forward. But that same pressure as far as the overall pension costs remains and needs to be addressed. This bill, I would suspect, is also going to be litigated and sent to the Supreme Court eventually. The sooner we get that process going, the better, which is what I said when I voted for 2404 2 or 3 years ago. I can't even remember.
It's estimated the two bills together would be a $2 billion savings.
I'm sorry, I walked in a little late. Does this mean the grand bargain is officially dead?
Oh, no, I don't think so. No, this is actually part of it. We're just trying to revive it and bring it forward again.
But this bill is not tied to the other 12 or 13.
No, and what I prefaced my remarks with was, we have a couple of choices. We can sit around like we did last week and kind of pointed fingers at each other. And Senator Tracy and I have been here a few sessions, so we know that there's finger pointing, and then at the end of May, this crescendo builds, and then either something happens or nothing happens, like last year, and we go home again pointing fingers at ourselves. It's high time we stop that process. It's March 14th. We have plenty of time to navigate the legislative process, and this is something we agree on. I think people back home, regardless of party, want both parties to find those areas that are structural and important that we agree on and move them forward for the betterment of everybody in the state, Democrats, Republicans alike.
So what makes this different than the other ones that have been put forth before? I mean, is there any difference to it, or is it just the same thing and still just trying to get it to go through this time?
I think it's similar, but it also includes a buyout plan, Tier 3, defined contribution. I represent areas that included Lucent Technologies, BP Amoco, and a number of other major employers in Illinois who 20 years ago went from defined benefit to defined contribution. And when I have my town halls, and I have town halls in front of live people, I basically bring up the history of the pension issue in Illinois and how it hasn't been addressed or how sweeteners were made over time. And at the same time, BP and Lucent and some of these other companies went right to defined contribution. At the same time, we were providing sweeteners. So I think people back home, certainly in my district in Western DuPage County, understand fully, it's time for the state to have a defined contribution program as well. Okay, we've got judiciary and we have like 30 bills up there. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.